Good morning, everybody. So this Shabbos is a very special one because it's also the final day of the Chag of Pesach. In America, there's 2 days. In Israel, there's 1 day. And the final day or days of the festival of Pesach commemorates the parting of the sea, the great miracle that happened after the Jewish people were released from bondage in Egypt. And then 7 days later, they were fleeing and they approached the sea and the sea split. And there's a very famous medrash, let's say, that says that the sea only split when it saw the bones of Joseph. Remember, Joseph had died in Egypt, and the children of Israel, the Bnei Israel, were commanded to carry the bones of Joseph with them back into the land of Israel to bury him there. And the sea only first split when the sea saw the bones of Joseph approaching. But there's a problem with that medrash. The problem is that there's another source in the sages that comes from the Zohar that says that the sea had agreed already from the time of creation. As God was creating the world, he made a condition with the sea, the Red Sea. And that condition was, when the Jewish people will one day approach the banks of this sea, you agree that you will split at that precise moment. So if that's the case, and the sea agreed. So if that's the case, if the sea had already agreed, according to the Zohar, to go ahead and split when the Jewish people arrived, then why does the Medrash tell us that it only split when it saw the bones of Joseph? It's a very interesting question. And I saw a fascinating answer this week from one of the great Hasidic masters, Reb Aaron of Karlin. He said that when that condition was made, it was before creation. And the sea looked at the souls, the spiritual souls of the Jewish people, and saw beauty, glory, splendor, the intense spiritual depth of a Jewish soul, and said, I will gladly part and split for such holy entities as the Jews. But then, thousands of years later, after the Jewish people had already been through 210 years of servitude and slavery, and were no longer looking exactly like those pure, pristine souls that they were before the time of creation, the sea didn't recognize them. The Jewish people are approaching and God says, okay, here's the moment the deal that we made, time for you to split. And the sea says, well, wait a minute. What do you mean split? You said split when the Jewish people arrive. Who are these people? And God says, this is them. These are the Jewish people, the ones I told you about. Because they don't look anything like the ones that you showed me back at the time of creation. And then the sea sees the bones of Joseph. What was Joseph? Joseph was the great leader, and his great moment, his great test, his trial that made him into the person that he was when he was a young boy in the house of Potiphar. And he was tested by the wife of Potiphar, who continuously tried to seduce him and to encourage him to sin and to go against his moral convictions, and time and over again, and he didn't agree. He stood his ground. He was a strong, even though he was young and even though he had grown up in the house of the Pharaoh and his court, he nonetheless stayed strong morally and ethically. He remained committed to what he believed in. He remained holy in the very dark and unholy place of Egypt. And when the sea saw the bones of Joseph, at that moment, the sea says, oh, yes, I recognize these people. It's almost like the bones of Joseph were saying, hey, my dear sea, remember, the way that people look at you is they think they see the beautiful ocean, they see the sea, they see the blue. They don't understand that there's a whole universe of depth below your surface. Well, that's true with us. That's true with every human being. You're looking at us right now on the surface. On the surface, you see a Jewish people who have been battered, who have been morally compromised after 210 years of slavery. But look deeper. Look at the spark. Look at the holy soul inside of every one of us. And when the sea looked at in a new way, with new lenses upon the Jewish people in a deeper, more spiritual way, and saw the true depth inside of every one of them, the sea says, ah, yes, now I recognize those people. Those are the same ones that I saw way back at the time of creation. And the sea splits. It's a beautiful message. It's a beautiful medrash, and it's a strong lesson for us. When we look at each other, when we look at another human being, we have to understand, don't look at the surface. Don't look at their actions. Don't look at the words that they use. Don't look at the things that they do. We have to understand that human beings, have been through a lot of trauma in their own lives, have been through a lot of experiences that have in many ways affected them in a negative way. But don't look at that. Look at the deep part of a person. Look what's below the surface. Look at the pure, godly soul that's inside of every single one of us. That's the secret of Chassidus. That's the secret of learning the deeper part of Torah, to be able to see the true depth, the godly soul that exists inside of every one of us. That's a message, a powerful message, I believe, for this Shabbat and for this last day or days of the festival of Pesach. So wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom and a Chag Samayach from Yerushalaim.